so the winds along the coast where we live have kept me grounded. So unfortunately, I haven't been able to fly the Air 2S. I've been flying it now for a couple of months, and it really is a blast to fly, and the quality of the photos and videos that it takes are just amazing. But one of the things I've noticed, and I see other people have noticed it as well, is that when shooting raw photos, the DMG format results in a vignette. Most times I prefer not to have a vignette in my photo, so I wanted to come up with an easy way to get rid of the vignette. I've been a long time Adobe Photoshop user, and I really loved using it. However, I was really turned off, like many other people were, when they switched from the one-time purchase to the subscription. So I searched the internet for an alternative, and I found Affinity Photo, which I think is comparable to Photoshop, and the workspace is quite similar, so it was an easy transition. I found that there really wasn't anything that I could do with Photoshop that I couldn't do in Affinity Photo. And Affinity Photo was a one-time fee of $37.99. That's a pretty good deal, and you also get 135 free weather overlays for that price. So how do we remove the Air 2S vignette in Affinity Photo? It's actually quite simple. There are 5 personas. Those are the 5 icons in the upper left-hand corner. The first is the photo persona. The second is the liquefy persona. The third is the develop persona. The fourth, the tone mapping persona. And the fifth, the export persona. Today we're going to be focusing on the develop persona, which you see the button here is highlighted develop. So we're in the develop persona now. The way to get rid of the vignette, which is this dark area around the outside of the photo, is to click on the lens tab. It's over here in the middle of your control panel on the right, and then scroll down to remove lens vignette and simply click the checkbox, and you'll notice the dark areas around the edge of the photograph are now gone. Before I leave the develop persona, I like to do 1 or 2 more quick fixes. You'll notice that I have turned on the show clipping buttons, which are these 3 buttons up here on the right. The first here is the show clipped highlights, show clipped shadows, and show clipped tones. When you click on each one of these, you'll notice on the show clipped highlights, if I turn it off, the red area in the center here has gone back to the original color in the photo. You'll notice if I click on the show clipped highlights button turning it off, the area in the center here where the sun is, if I turn it back on, there are your clipped highlights, and the same for your shadows and your tones. The tones would be this yellow area on the outside of the sun. So how do we get rid of the clipping that is occurring in our highlights and tones? We go to the Tones tab, down to the Curves, and this bottom left are your dark shadows. The upper right are your highlights and tones. If you take that dot and just pull it down slightly, you'll notice both the highlights and your tones are corrected. There's no more clipping. If you move this bottom dot up a tad, you'll notice these little tiny yellow dots here, a couple here. When you move this up just a tad, those yellow dots are gone, showing that your shadows are no longer clipped. Now that we've eliminated the vignette and made our quick corrections to the highlights and tones, we just need to press on the develop button and let Affinity Photo do its job. Between the high quality photos and videos that the Air 2S takes and the capabilities of Affinity Photo, there's really no reason you shouldn't end up with professional looking photos and videos.